Just remember, Jim, we got your back.
Yeah, okay. I'll see you roaring through the door here to help me out.
You want any more chocolates? You'll be okay.
Oh, no, I'll be fine.
That was a good chocolate, though, Judith. Thanks.
I know.
Six piece. Wish she didn't come in.
I'll take them over to the other side.
Good idea.
You're going to go over to the other side, Judith?
I'm going over to the other side.
Yeah.
Judith, can you make a trip to the airport by any chance?
Oh, I could have. Oh, you're not in Coldwater. I would have dropped them off. I'm making more. We already ate almost the whole tray what I brought in here. So,
is that where you are, Dan? Are you down at the airport?
Yes.
How are things at the airport?
We're just getting ready for the very, very busy season.
Yeah. Do you have snow?
No.
No.
Sunshine.
Oh, that's good.
Yep.
Well, it's 9 o'clock, folks. Should we go take off on this thing?
Yep. Speaking of airports.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone. Today is December the 13th at Planning and Development Committee meeting. My name is Jim McIntyre. I'm Ward 5. I'm the chair today for this meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Are there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we'll move along to the public meeting. Today's public meeting has only one on the agenda. In accordance, the meeting is proposed development application in accordance with the Planning Act. I'm pleased to advise that this is being broadcast live on the Township's YouTube channel, where a recording of this meeting will be available. Notice of the meeting was sent by first-class mail to property owners within 120 meters, 400 feet, of the subject property. Signage was also posted on the subject property to provide information about the application. All of this was in conformance with the Planning Act process for a statutory public meeting. The purpose of the meeting is to inform and provide the public and the Planning and Development Committee with an opportunity to ask questions or express views with respect to the proposal. The format of the public meeting will be as follows. The applicant's agent will generally explain the purpose and effect of the application. Secondly, township staff can provide further information and clarify any statements of the applicant and or their agent. Next, the public will be permitted to ask questions and express views on the proposal, and then the public portion of the meeting will be closed. And lastly, members of the committee will be given the opportunity to ask questions for clarification on the proposal and provide comments. At the conclusion of the meeting for the application, the applicant, their agent, and if required, township staff will be given the opportunity to respond to the questions and comments received. No decision will be made today following the public meeting on the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application. Following this meeting, the information obtained, including from questions and comments submitted by members of the public and committee, will assist the township and the applicant's team to determine the next steps.
Morning, Patty.
Should substantial questions or concerns remain unanswered, an additional public meeting may be scheduled or a report may return to this committee if additional information is requested. Once the township is satisfied with the information provided by the applicants and their consultants, this committee may recommend the bylaw to be considered by council, as the township is the approval authority for the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. In the future, township council decides if township council decides in favor of the applicant by adopting recommendations for the committee, members of the public who have provided oral or written submissions but disagree with the decision may be entitled to appeal the decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal under the Planning Act. Individuals attending the public meeting by YouTube, Zoom, or telephone may email or call the township planning department to submit contact information to receive notice on the decision of this application. This is a public meeting regarding 3403 Muskoka Street. The applicants will present from Morgan Planning and Development to please provide information regarding C.1.3.1 of the agenda package and explain the purpose and effect of the application. Do we now go to Lauren from Morgan Planning?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Good morning, Lauren.
Good morning, Chair and Council, members of the public. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present to you. My name is Lauren Arsenault. I'm a junior planner with Morgan Planning and Development. And I'm just going to share my screen because we have a presentation prepared. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we were retained by Tom Denne, owner of the subject lands 3403 Muskoka Street, to prepare a planning justification report in support of a zoning bylaw amendment, which is required as a condition of a recent consent. The subject property is located within the Washago settlement area, west of the Green River Dam and Gristmill, and the property is located on the east side of Muskoka Street, north of County Road 169. The property is currently developed with a residential dwelling and is serviced by municipal water and sewer. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment application is required as a condition of consent, application B0323, that was provisionally approved on August 15th, 2023. The purpose of the application is to rezone the severed lands from the downtown commercial C2 zone to a highway commercial C4 zone to match the zoning on the benefiting lands. And this will result in 2 newly configured parcels, each with separate zoning to support the existing and future uses. You can see the severed lands are hatched here and the benefiting lands in the bright yellow. So those are to merge and become one parcel. Here's a look at the draft zoning bylaw amendment schedule, which shows the rear portion of the subject property to be rezoned from C2 to C4 to reach the C4 zone on the abutting parcel on the benefiting lot. It's also intended that the benefiting lands will later be merged with the abutting parcel 8259 County Road 169, and then further 4337 Heppenstall Landing, all owned by our client under separate title to allow for the redevelopment and expansion of use of the Washago Timber Mart. So here's a look at the existing detached dwelling on the subject property, which will remain on the retained lands. The rear yard of this lot is subject to rezoning, and the abutting benefiting lands, as you can see here, are vacant, currently being used for parking serving the Washago Timber Mart. And I know that staff had expressed concerns with that current use as the parking is not currently located on the same lot as the business. However, it's the owner's intent to rectify this by merging those lands with the Timber Mart lands, should this application be successful. It's the owner's intent that the newly configured lot would be used for additional parking and outdoor display and sales for the Washago Timber Mart. And just to give you a bigger picture of to illustrate the need for additional outdoor display and sales and parking, you can see here there's very limited number of parking spaces to service this use, which intersects with a throughway to the lumber yard, creating a very congested area. And the outdoor storage, as you can see in this image, is crowded and very close to the road. So both of these uses would be relocated to the benefit lands, and the proposed zoning will match that of the Washago Timber Mart. property is designated settlements by the county's official plan and settlement employment area by the township's official plan. The zoning bylaw amendment will maintain a commercial use, which is in line with these designations. Again, just another look at the land subject to rezoning. The Washago Timber Mart properties are in blue and all zoned C4. Subject property is considered a settlement area in the PPS and growth plan, which both seek to promote economic development and competitiveness. The entirety of the subject lands are designated settlement within the county's OP. Settlements are the focus for population and employment growth and development in the county. Similarly, the subject lands are designated settlement employment area in both the township official plan and the township's adopted official plan. The settlement employment area designation seeks to encourage commercial development that will provide a full range of goods and services. It is the opinion of Morgan Planning and Development that the zoning bylaw amendment application conforms with both the township official plan in force and effect and the adopted official plan. To conclude, the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application is required as a condition of a provisionally approved consent application to rezone the Severn lands from a downtown commercial zone to a highway commercial zone to match zoning on the benefiting lands, and this will allow for efficient commercial development of these vacant lands. Future development of the benefiting lands will be subject to site plan control and urban design policies and guidelines. The rezoning will contribute to the expansion of an existing established local business on lands designated for employment. Morgan Planning and Development feel the application conforms and complies with all levels of applicable planning legislation and represents good land use planning. Thank you for your time and attention, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have regarding the application.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, do we now ask for staff's presentation?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Does the Township's planner, Brad Oster, have any further to add to the materials and information provided by the applicant?
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, committee. I'll be brief in my comments this morning as Ms. Arsenault's done a wholesome review of the file before you. I did just want to comment on the concept of a split zoning on a property. So where one property has multiple zones on that property having a split zoning, the zoning provisions such as setbacks and lot coverage would apply to the boundaries of each individual zone, and the shared boundary between what presently would be the C4 and the C2 zone essentially acts as a lot line. So it can present challenges when trying to develop properties. So this application does seek to rectify that to allow for more efficient use of lands in the future through any sort of proposed redevelopment, which Ms. Arsenault did comment would be subject to site plan control at the time that development was proposed. The last thing I did just want to briefly comment on is the concept of these lands being removed from the downtown zoning to the highway commercial. Through the lot addition, these lands would become part of a parcel that has frontage and access from County Road. So it would be more appropriate, as the lands would function more from the County Road perspective, for them to have the highway commercial zoning opposed to the downtown commercial zoning, which is currently applied. So for those reasons, and subject to any comments received at today's meeting, staff are supportive of the approval of the application, and that is reflected in our recommendation to the committee this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Oster. Are there any persons present on Zoom or the telephone who have either questions or comments on the application? Well, they are now invited to speak. Please unmute yourself when recognized and turn on your camera if you wish. You will be required to give your full name and address for the minutes. Please note that your comments will also be recorded and live streamed on the Township's YouTube channel and will remain online. The Township does not have the ability to edit the live stream to remove any personal information provided in the course of submitting comments or questions. If there are any members of the public who would like to speak, please unmute yourself now and give your name and address for the minutes. Madam Clerk?
It is my understanding that there's no public registered to speak today.
Okay, we'll then proceed to the applicant's additional comments. For the townships, Mr. Oster, Brad Oster, please summarize any additional correspondence that has been submitted on this application and provide any further information.
Thank you, Chair. There's been no additional correspondence received for this application. All correspondence that was received was included on the agenda for today's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Does the applicant's agent wish to provide any further information on the application? Lauren?
Thank you, Chair. Nothing further.
Thank you. Do members of the committee have any questions? Seeing, excuse me, Member Mennings.
Thank you. Through the chair, I have some questions on the current residence that's on the Muskoka Street facing. So the existing brick home. I'm not clear from the presentation whether or not A, it's being inhabited as a residence, and B, I'm questioning if the Township Planning Department has any concerns with reducing the residential property rear yard to what looks like almost nil, and which would then be backing onto the Timber Mart expansion, which will likely be either a building or storage of building materials that close to the residence. So I'm just would like to know a little bit more about its current use and any concerns. Thank you.
Mr. Oster?
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure if the dwelling is being inhabited. I would maybe defer that to Ms. Arsenault to answer that part. But with respect to the setbacks and the dwelling on the property, the township zoning bylaw does recognize existing single detached dwellings within the C2 zone as a permitted use. So that could just be sort of like a legal non-complying situation with respect to that. The minimum required rear yard setback in the C2 zone is 0 meters. So by bringing the rear lot line of the subject property closer to the dwelling, it would still remain in compliance with those zoning provisions. Through any future redevelopment of this site, as part of the overall Timber Mart property, there would be opportunities there for the township to explore any sort of screening or buffering provisions through site plan control to mitigate any sort of impacts from the commercial use to the residential.
Satisfactory, Member Mennings?
Thank you. And through the chair, just a follow-up question. Are there any concerns regarding, so without you knowing whether or not anyone lives in that house, if it's being used for residential purposes or not, I'm just wondering if there are any concerns about the potential impact of that Muskoka Street fronting building, either in the future to be used as a residence or as a retail outlet or something for the main street of Washego. I'm just thinking of all the housing insecurity that exists in many communities, certainly within Washego. And I just wanted to make sure that home was being protected as much as possible so that it was still usable as a residence, if that's the purpose of it.
Lauren, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so it's my understanding that the dwelling is inhabited, and I haven't heard of anything from the client that would indicate that they have any intentions on changing that or changing the use. The consent that went through the Committee of Adjustment, did take into account that residential use and the lot boundary. They wanted to make sure that there was sufficient space in the rear yard. There's a deck back there, so they did consider that and that they would have some yard space. And of course, as Mr. Oster mentioned, through site plan control, certainly we'll be looking at landscape buffers or any fencing just to separate those conflicting uses.
Okay, Katie, have you got anything to add to that?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to point out to council, just so everyone is aware, that the main street of Washego, Muskoka Street in this area, it is designated settlement employment under our current official plan. So it would be the township's long-term vision that this dwelling in question would become either a retail, an employment, something like that type of use. And as council would know, we're very constricted in Washego. So really the only way to expand that downtown street or those downtown businesses is the conversion of houses. Of course, that would require a site plan agreement, it would require a building permit. So all of those things would be looked at through that process. So although the single detached dwelling is permitted to stay, it's permitted to stay as a dwelling, the zoning recognizes that. It is in the official plan that the long-term use of that property would be more commercial or employment type use.
Thank you. Member Burkett.
Thank you. Through the chair. I'm frozen. I guess you can hear me.
Yes.
So just some history. That house that's there used to be a barber shop when I was a kid, and it was a business. So at some point they tore the business down and built a house. So I'm glad that it's remaining in the commercial part of our plans, and the fact that at some future date we may be able to use it as a business as well.
Thank you. Member Cox?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Member Burkett sort of, I think there was a fire there and they rebuilt that. I could be wrong. I just thought that if there had been a concern, all these people would have had the notice sent to them and they would have come forward if they had a concern about it. Thank you.
Any further questions? Do we vote on a draft motion now, Madam Clerk?
Yes, so if there's no further comments on the public meeting, then it would be deemed to be closed, and the motion reads that planning report number P23-043 dated December 13th, 2023, with respect to a zoning bylaw amendment application, file number Z2306 for the subject lands located at 3403 Muskoka Street, be received, and further that a draft zoning bylaw amendment be presented to council for consideration at the next available meeting, subject to comments received prior to council's consideration of the zoning bylaw amendment, including additional submissions from council, the Planning and Development Committee, members of the public, circulated agencies, and township departments.
We have a mover. Moved by Member Jansen, seconded by Member Minnings. All in favor?
Yes.
Carried. Thank you very much, Ms. Arsenault, for your presentation.
Thank you, council, and I just wanted to wish council and staff a happy holiday season.
Thank you as well.
Take care.
Okay, we'll move along to, I suppose we'll move along to C12 correspondence.
I believe we're at item D now, Mr. Chair. So we're through the public meeting. So we're into the delegations, which we do not have.
Are there any delegations?
No.
Okay, consent agenda then. Reports from officials?
I believe you need to ask if anyone wants to pull anything, Mr. Chair.
Oh, yes, I've got that note here. Does anyone wish to pull anything?
Yes,
Member Brennan.
Thank you. Please, I would like to pull E2.2, the Prince Edward County MECP proposal.
Yes, thank you. Anybody else wish to pull anything? Member Burkett, did you have anything?
Sorry. No, I'm good, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so then the motion to adopt the agenda will be that the agenda be adopted, including consent items with the exception of item E 2.2.
Do we have a mover? Moved by Member Taylor, seconded by Member Jansen. All in favor? Carried. Where do we go from here, Madam Chair? Or Madam Clerk?
We are into reports from officials.
Yes, please. Reports from officials. Do we go to G1, administration report?
Yes, we do.
That would be A23-054.
Thank you. So the township has had Harold Elston as our integrity commissioner for a couple of years now. It was always dependent on the county undertaking their RFP process. So they have undertaken that process, and as a result, they actually did an RFPQ, which pre-qualified 3 available contractors, or in this case, integrity commissioners, SC Consulting, just Suzanne Craig, ADR Chambers, and Principals Integrity. There's a summary of the years of experience for each of them as attached. Staff are recommending that we proceed with SC Consulting for the contract period of January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2027. So they'll be available to assist with any questions council has. We will arrange for some midterm training. We typically do that so that there's a sort of a midpoint refresher on any legal updates that council should be aware of with respect to their codes of conduct. And if we need to update our code of conduct, then the new integrity commissioner would be part of that process. So.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any questions from the committee? Member Taylor.
Yeah, through the chair to Elsie, I was hoping that we would meet our new integrity commissioner in person, and you're saying that that'll happen, eh? Thank you.
We'll arrange for that. So we're going into these. So typically I would arrange for that in the 3rd year of the term, but if council would like to have that sort of later 2024, then we can do that then. Normally we do it every couple of years.
Go ahead, Mr. Taylor.
Yeah, through the chair, just in lieu, we've got a new person there. It'd be nice to meet her in person, I think.
Certainly, we can make that arrangement.
Thanks.
Any further questions? Seeing none, we need a motion, Madam Clerk.
Yes, Your Worship. So, or Mr. Chair. The motion reads that Administration Report number A23-054 dated December 13th, 2023 regarding the Township's Integrity Commission to be received, and that SC Consulting, Suzanne Craig, be appointed as the Township's new Integrity Commissioner effective January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2027, and further that the required bylaw be brought forward to the next meeting of council.
We have a mover, please. Moved by Member Cox, seconded by Member Brennan. All in favor? Carried. We're going to new business, Madam Clerk.
Yes. So we have H1.
H1, a report from Member Minnings regarding the opening of council meetings. Go ahead, Member Minnings.
Yes, thank you through the chair to council. I'm bringing forward a motion that council considers reenacting having O Canada played at the beginning of our council meetings. Currently, we have a land acknowledgement that's read by the chair, followed by a moment of silence and reflection. And I think that within the council agenda and the timing, etc., that it's important to me to have O Canada part of that package. So not taking anything away from our opening, but rather adding to it. And I would like that to be effective immediately at the next meeting.
Any discussion from the committee? Member Brennan.
Thank you. Through the chair to council. Upon reading the agenda, I did look into this a little bit, and first of all, I other than if I sing the national anthem, I will be charged with treason. Other than me singing it personally, then I would think that I looked up the national anthem and some of the material on it, and a couple of interesting points that I'd like to share with council with regard to this pending motion. One is there are a number of versions that are available. In fact, like Toronto Symphony Orchestra and others, there are a number of versions that they asked you to use them. And I know we use Zoom, we use video. And in terms of accessibility, first of all, I think it's a great idea, but in terms of accessibility, there are some beautiful versions. I mean, there's actually a rock version that would be appropriate at a council meeting, or pop rock, but there are amazing versions with beautiful, beautiful graphics. One in particular that I thought really valuable, consistent with our work with an accessibility committee, is it has the sign language on there while it's being played for the verses. It takes 1 minute and 44 seconds. It's all it takes to play this. And at a time when nationalism is so screwed up, you know, you've had our flag co-opted by the convoy people. I mean, people don't even want to put up the flag anymore because they don't want to be confused with those people. So, you know, I'm not big on ultranationalism by any means, but I think we should take some pride in our community. Some of those videos depict our First Nations, Indigenous people in them as well. I would suggest, in support of or amending the proposal that Councillor Mennings has put forward, that we do an audio-visual version of the thing and maybe rotate it. I mean, I would just leave that to Tracy or someone, you know, to pick that. But, you know, it's pretty classy. And for council meetings, just council meetings, I think it'd be the right thing to do. Thank you.
Comment, Madam Clerk?
A few comments if I can. Excuse me. With respect to timing, so in order to change this will require an amendment to our council procedural bylaw. As the agenda for the December 20th meeting goes out tomorrow morning, I will physically just not have time to get that on the agenda for tomorrow's meeting, or the agenda that goes out tomorrow, which means that the earliest it could come with this change would be the February council meeting, which is the first one we have in the new year, and it would take effect in March then. So I just wanted to make sure the council was aware of that. I appreciate that we'd like to have this happen as quickly as possible, but there's just some logistical pieces to that. The second part is typically most municipalities, to Member Brennan's comments, typically most municipalities fall back on the standard Government of Canada, Canada version that is produced for us to be used. It gets quite complicated if we try and change the recording every time, because we're going to have to figure that out internally as to how we're going to make that work on Zoom. Because we are a small operation here with respect to IT. So typically we just fall back, and most municipalities do, on the approved Government of Canada playing of O Canada. And they do produce a recording that is available for use by government agencies. So not that I'm against any other versions, Member Brennan, but there is a prescribed and approved version from the Government of Canada that most municipalities would use. So just to put that out there.
Councillor Taylor.
I just want to, through the chair, support Member Minnings. I think it's great, bring it back, and we all love our country and we should show it. Thank you. And I agree with Allison as well. Thank you.
Councillor Cox.
Yeah, before COVID, we had a really nice one with graphics. And no offense, I sing O Canada at the county, and we have part of it's French and part of it's English, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. It's just, for me, and I don't know about anybody else, but those graphics really make you feel kind of proud. You see the ocean, and you see the mountains, and you see this and the geese, and I know that, you know, we don't have to sing, because it can just sing, and we all, if you don't want to sing, you don't have to. But I do. I really enjoy the graphics of it. I think it shows our country and how proud we are of it. And if we could find one that's like that, I really don't think it's any different than the standard one. I mean, it's O Canada's O Canada. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Brennan.
Yeah. Further to the deputy's comments, I'm pretty sure you'll find that all the versions that are, well, the versions that I saw are all quite acceptable. I do like the one that has the sign language interpreter in there. I have a bit of a bias on that, and I like the accessible nature of that. So anyway, I still would urge you to, look at some of the other ones too. there's some really good content there. And the only change to the act that's happened was in 2018 when they made it gender neutral. Instead of all of our sons command, it's all of us command. And some of them are musical anyway, so that part is not even applicable. Thank you.
Member Cox.
Yeah, just to back up what Member Brennan said, I really think that the speech one is good too. That means that, you know, the speech, hard of hearing, people who have visual issues, everybody's covered, and we've really done well with our accessibility.
Member Burkett.
Thank you through the chair, and thank you, Member Minnings, for bringing that forward. I can remember we did to Member Cox's comments. We had the singing of "O Canada" with different pictures throughout the whole country, and it was just breathtaking because it sent shivers up your spine as you sang "O Canada," and it was amazing just to see how diverse our country is. Beautiful. If we could find something like that, I can't remember. It must have been before COVID, but it was really, really nice video. And the sign part that Member Brennan's speaking to for sign language, I think is a great parcel as well.
I agree. Any further questions regarding Member Minning's request? Seeing none, do we require a motion, Madam Clerk?
Yes. So it'd be that the report from Member Minnings regarding council openings, particularly O Canada and the land acknowledgement, be received, and that the council procedural bylaw be amended to add O Canada at the start of council meetings.
We have a mover. Moved by Member Minnings, seconded by Member Jansen. All in favor? Carried. We'll move along to H2. Report from Member Burkett, invasive weeds, Sparrow Lake.
Thank you.
Ahead,
thank you through the chair. I'm not sure if other members of council received emails, letters. I've got probably 30 or 40 now, and it seems that our residents are looking to us for help, for guidance. Upper levels of government are obviously not maybe not as aware as to what's happening in our lakes and in our rivers. And I know that the majority of the problems, because we've been down this road before, stems from Lake Simcoe and the fertilizers that farmers are using to cultivate their lands, to grow food that we need. So I'm not sure if we take the lead on this and somehow involve Severn Sound to get their opinion as to where do we go from here? How do we engage the other two levels of government? Because we do not have the resources to stop what's happening in any of our lakes and rivers with these invasive weeds. So hoping to have a good discussion and looking for staff's input as well as to how we move forward with this.
Member Cox. You're on mute, Judith.
This gentleman does say that he'd like everybody to work together on this. So I think Graydon Smith should be contacted. Jill Dunlop should be contacted. Someone from the Trent Severn should be contacted. And I agree that Severn Sound should be. And I also would like to, yeah, those are the ones. And I have to say, I do agree that it's probably from the farms, but I also know that we have a lot of people who use fertilizers on their lawns. They also have, thank goodness, we have our septic reinspection, because that also is another case for phosphorus. So I think it's a whole issue that we do need to go to the other levels of government and let them know these issues, because these invasive weeds, which are invasive species, kill out things, kill out certain bacterias, kill out little things that other fish eat, everything. So your lake can become dead because of it. So I think it's something that we should go to Severn Sound with. Thank you.
Member Brennan. Mute.
Yeah, I can fully appreciate comments by His Worship and the Deputy Mayor. One of the challenges that you'll run into if you approach MNRF directly is they're just going to say no. When I was the senior manager for implementing the late Simcoe protection plan, of course, this was a huge issue, and I had to do a presentation in East Gwillimbury at one time, and the council just about ran me out of town because they were spending a lot of money doing weed control in the lake, and they wanted, because of the plan, they wanted the province to take care of the costs. And of course, I was the happy messenger to say, yeah, no, that's not happening. So I think that's the kind of response you'd probably still get because it's not a localized problem. And you're right, Mayor Burkett, farm practices are a bit of the problem. Well, not a bit of it. They are a bit of the problem. They're significant in some areas. And there are best practices that can reduce that. So there's an educational component to these things. In coming into Lake Simcoe, though, it's not just, it's development on the shoreline that's been inappropriate that's causing a significant amount of the phosphorus load. So, and yes, you're right, we end up inheriting that as well. So I agree with the deputy mayor. I think, though, if we're going to have any chance of working on this, we need to go to SIA and see if we can get some sort of preliminary, I don't know how you'd want to call it, a capsule and analysis of the problem and what it would take to get it somewhat under control. I think it's going to be an ongoing challenge, but I think if we have something ready, it might help us get a one-off funding here and there to deal with the issue. But I see as well-versed in these issues, and I think that they could sort of give us an outline that we can use to try to talk to these agencies that were mentioned by the deputy mayor, and also a package that would allow us to apply for funding when the opportunity comes to try to help the lake. Thank you.
Member Minnings.
Thank you. Through the chair, yes, I'm totally in support of what the writers have requested, pardon me, which is asking the township to take a lead. And although all of these groups have a role to play and are resourced that way to do that, I would really like to see Severn Township do exactly what we've been asked, which is take the lead, just start to put it out there to everyone. All of these groups comes with their resources and their connections and their expertise, etc. But it seems from where I sit that there's no one coordinating and keeping that discussion up front and center with various stakeholders and partners. And, you know, somewhat related, at a meeting last night, one of our citizens mentioned the leadership role that the township's been taking on the floating cottages and was so much in praise of the role that, even though it may not be solely ours to solve, that we were leading that conversation and keeping it up front and center. And I think this would be another opportunity to do that.
Member Cox.
Sorry, further to that, yesterday we went to a meeting and listened to the SSEA do a presentation to Tay Council, and the information was excellent. I think we should get Julie to come and talk to us. But what struck me the most was the fact $500,000 a year they dig around and get grants for. So there was also a gentleman there from the Great Lakes Committee. And I think he has, and Member Taylor can help me out on this, I think he has something to do with SIA too. So I really believe that if we get hold of the Severn Sound, they will be a good leader in this. They have contacts. They're already out there. They're already working on invasive species of phragmites. So I believe that's the best route, is to start with them. Thank you.
Member Taylor.
Yeah, I think the deputy mayor took my thunder away, but we should involve Severn Sound as the lead and through our planning staff, and let's tee it up with them, and then try and get this rectified. Thank you.
Member Burkett.
Thank you through the chair. I just want to read what's happening. So this letter was in my mailbox and I have about 6 of them here, but one of the residents has written, I'll just read a very small portion of it. My concern is that many cottagers and homeowners are now taking things into their own hands, and we believe it's making things worse. People are wading in the water, pulling the unsightly weeds, which is making it spread faster when not done properly. So we as a council are not environmentalists. We do have an environmental group that we all support. So I think the SSCA are the ones that need to take the lead. And through their leadership, we can be their conduit to upper levels of government to voice the concerns that we're finding within our own municipalities. And I think that's the way that we need to go.
Any further discussion? Member Cox.
Sorry, I'm also thinking what Member Burkett said is that you look at all the other members of SIA, every single one of them is on a shoreline, and I'll bet you every single one of them is getting these letters or getting comments from them. Thank you.
Member Burkett.
Thank you. Through the chair. So if we're going to go to upper levels of government, and it's been said before, we just can't go without any background. So we need some actual data to support what we're saying. So if we can get the SSCA to provide that to us, then we can make a deputation to Minister Graydon with hard facts as to what's causing the problem. And if there's something that Madam Clerk has something to say. Okay, go ahead.
Clerk. Go ahead,
It always dreads when I put up my card.
I know, I stopped.
I just wanted to propose that maybe as a starting point on this subject matter, because we do have to be cognizant of the fact that this is not our jurisdiction to really get involved and deal with respect to waterways, is that maybe the starting point is that we ask SSCA to come as a delegation to provide us an overview as to what they can help us with and what efforts they're currently making. And then also in addition to that, we just send some correspondence to the local MPP, MP, SSCA, MNRF, and Trans Severn requesting that they try and to address the matter. So we do have to, I would suggest we do have to stay cognizant of the fact that this is largely something that's outside of our jurisdiction to be able to address. But we can try and push the conversation to get them involved and to raise it on their radar.
Member Burkett.
Thank you through the chair to Madam Clerk. So I don't think our planning staff are well versed to do things like that. If we could just have the SSCA weigh in on it, because that has more clout, I think. They are an environmental group, and I think if we listen to what they have to say and forward that information to upper levels of government to see how the 4 of us can work together, hopefully do something about it.
Anything further? Member Minnings.
Thank you through the chair. In addition to what the clerk just stated about having them come to a meeting 100%, and I would add to that the information that we've been given from residents, etc., should be shared in advance. So I don't think that needs to wait for another meeting. They could supplement at a meeting for us as a conversation, but I wouldn't want to hold contacting them off for this particular issue until they actually came.
Thank you. I wouldn't want to leave this topic without asking the CAO. Do you have anything to add? Since we can't see you.
Thank you. I think the clerk has covered it well. So it sounds like council wants to start with a delegation from SSCA just to see what they can do to assist us. So I think the clerk's probably got a resolution ready for you.
Thank you. Anything further? We have a motion, Madam Clerk.
Certainly. So the motion then reads that the report from Member Burkett regarding invasive species on Sparrow Lake and Trans Severn waterways be received, and further that SSCA be requested to attend as a delegation to provide an overview of what can be done to manage invasive species and what actions can be taken.
The mover, please. Member Taylor, seconded Mayor Burkett. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Are we down to E22? Are we, Madam Clerk?
Yes.
Okay. Resolution from Prince Edward Island. This item was pulled by Member Brennan. Want to comment, Member Brennan?
Yes, thank you, through the chair. This is not new to you. Back on October 18th at a previous planning meeting, I spoke probably for close to 10 minutes about this particular initiative by the provincial government. And of course, I outlined at least a dozen reasons in each of the categories because they want to expand the permit by rule to waste management, stormwater, and certain water taking activities. The reason we didn't make a submission and I didn't ask for planning staff to do that in a motion was that it was close to the submission deadline. Fortunately, there's no deadline for these resolutions while these things are under consideration. So I'm asking that we support the county. And for a couple, and unless you have questions and you want me to go through some of that again, at the risk of, and I have no problem with that. I'm prepared to do that. But just a couple of things. The bottom line is this is not a good decision. We've talked about this before, and I was really happy to see that a conservation authority, in essence, agreed with virtually everything I said. Now, don't forget, I didn't make it up. I got my information from the Canadian Environmental Law Association's website, so that it's pretty consistent that there's a lot of concern around the risks to our water, the lack of regulation with regard to waste, hazardous waste management, and so forth. And generally speaking, what I'm saying is we should not be shortchanging and the public consultation, which has gone locally as a result of this. This is not stuff that should be streamlined, period. So I'm asking for us to support that. If council members want me to go over the reasons again, outside of what the Quinte Conservation Authority says in here, they do a good job and they do it in a page and a half. I'm prepared to answer any questions that I can, answer, but I'm asking for council support to support this resolution and to get the message back out to the provincial government that this is not going to help us with our housing affordability issues. It's going to be a threat to our existing communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Brennan. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. So the motion reads that the Council for the Township of Severn supports the resolution from Prince Edward County regarding the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks, MECP, proposal to expand the use of permit by rule, and urges the provincial government to stop the MECP proposal to expand the use of permit by rule to waste management systems, stormwater management systems, and certain water taking activities.
Mover, please. Moved by Member Brennan, seconded by Member Cox. All in favor? It's carried. Madam Clerk.
Last motion is that this meeting be and is hereby now adjourned at 9:52 a.m.
Mover, please. Oh, request to speak, Member Burkett, please.
Thank you through the chair. I just want to say for your first meeting, Chair, you've done a remarkable job. Congratulations.
No, thank you. You're very kind. Thank you. Now we need a mover to adjourn. Member Burkett. Member Cox. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Have a great day.
Enjoy the day. Still snowing.
Hey, Mar, are we finished? Are we off air?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Momentarily.